for protecting our gear, people have talked about, and we've already mentioned a couple of things in some of the other videos you guys will be able to see where we talked about surge protection and things. But if you wanted to invest in a couple of pieces that would really protect your DJ system when you're out in the field, what are a couple of things you could recommend or things that they should be thinking about to protect their DJ gear from electrical issues?
I think there's some obvious ones and there's some maybe not so obvious ones. Okay. I would say I'll start with the not obvious ones because I think those are maybe the most beneficial, right? Or at least the most groundbreaking. Good cords, good cables, good quality connectors. That's going to prevent failures, which could prevent arcing or poor conductivity, which will cause additional draw problems. You're exacerbating all the problems you have, otherwise maybe. So good cords that are sufficient gauge to carry the amperage. We're not having significant volt drop problems if we're running long cords. We're also have cords that are able to handle the abuse and the ends aren't, getting beat up and the connectors aren't losing that, good connectivity. So I think that's a key thing. Mm-hmm. Properly grounded equipment, always. And that's not just for the longevity of the gear. More importantly, it's the longevity of you. Of all the pieces of gear in your show, the most important one is you. You can do your show with probably just about any other piece of gear. You can't do it without you. So, it's not your show without you. So, grounding is very important to protect your gear and you. Beyond that, I would say there are times it's a really good case for things like a good power conditioner. Some of our lower current devices that are more susceptible. I don't worry about them so much with things like, fog machines and stuff like that. They're pumps and heaters. I'm not really worried about that. There is some circuitry in there, but I'm not entirely worried about that. Even speakers so much, I don't really worry about those. By and large, unless you have a pretty significant transient, I think they're pretty solid. I would worry about it a little bit more with more sensitive devices, things like, projectors, things like that. DJ controllers and things like that. I mean, this might sound extreme, but one of the things that I would probably find beneficial and one of the things that I always use on a mixing console when I'm working is a UPS, a battery backup. Because, one, if that board goes down, most boards and most controllers now are basically computerized devices.
Sure.
They're generally pretty tough. They usually come back up. They usually reboot, right?
Usually.
Yeah, but usually isn't good enough.
That's not a guarantee.
And if they do, I'm probably losing a lot of settings anyway, right? So I don't want them to go down. Mm-hmm. I want to keep that up and running all the time. So for me, keeping that console from going down is a really big deal. Particularly with some of the consoles that we have, even and really the most expensive ones, the reboot time is significant. If your console's down for 5, 6, 10 minutes, that's a long time in a 75-minute concert.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that gets you on TMZ, or YouTube. But so for the sake of having a battery backup, and again, that's hoping your console comes back up. Mm-hmm. DJ controllers are kind of the same way in some regards, right? I think it's not necessary, but I would strongly consider it if I was using a DJ controller. I would have a battery backup, I think. Now, you might say, okay, well, what about my laptop? Well, laptop has a battery built in, so no, I'm not worried about that at all. If you're running a desktop, which I know some of my DJ friends do, yeah, I'd definitely have that on a battery backup. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you unplug the power cord on a desktop, lights out, baby. You're going to be waiting until that reboots. And those are usually the times it decides to do a software update, right? So, so let's not have that is my point, right?
Oh, funny. So we've talked about also some devices out there on past shows that would actually clean up some of the buzz and some of the things within the electricity. Are those devices that are readily or are available for a mobile DJ to add to their system? Or there's
yeah, absolutely. There's really good, and we looked at in one of our previous segments here. We looked at the difference in power conditioners, and on this channel, my friend Chris and I did a show on power conditioners, and then you and I did one a few years before that. Really good look at what's under the hood and what makes those different, and we even talked about a little bit of it tonight. Different size and form factors, but even really little ones, like I think it's the AC215, if I remember correctly. from Furman is a pretty good unit. And it's just a little box, like about this big. You could stick it, behind stuff. It was actually designed originally to go behind TVs and installation. That's what they intended it to be used for. DJs are always surprised to find out that not every piece of AV gear is made for them. In fact, newsflash, you guys are like 5% of the market, so most of it's not made for you. But hey, that's a good thing. We'll just take advantage of the fact that somebody else designed this and paid for it, and you get to use it, right? So AC215, I think, is the model number. But otherwise, you could go with a good, classic series, something like that. Those are really good. There's some other really good ones out there. Middle Atlantic makes some really good ones. Atlas makes a half rack that I think is pretty good. Even, some of the less featured that don't have the non-sacrificial circuitry, there's the Tour Base from D'Addario. There's the SS6B from Furman. Some of these more industrial power strips, have some noise reduction capacity in them, chokes and things like that. I remember shooting a video on the D'Addario power base, years ago when it came out. Tour Power Base, that's what it is. I don't feel good today. I'm sorry.
You're doing well. We're just about there.
And literally, we had a radio signal coming through when we were about to shoot the video until we plugged that in, and it got rid of the radio signal. Like, man, I wish we had staged that. That was the greatest thing. And we tried to caution people that it wouldn't necessarily solve that problem for everybody. And sure enough, somebody bought one and it didn't get rid of the radio signal. Yeah. And it's like, listen, there's a lot of ways a radio signal can get into your gear. If you lift the ground, you create an antenna, and it could be coming in a mic cable. But anyway, it was just neat to see that actually work right as we were about to shoot a video talking about this product. We're like, hey, I was worth $30 right there, you know? So,
and again, if people
results may vary.
if people are looking for some devices like that, a phone call up to the office, and you guys can kind of walk through what their needs are and help them with that.
Yeah, I think engineering, it's always a series of compromises, and we could talk about that, right? If you're getting some of the control towers, things like the bun booth, that sort of thing, they're not deep enough for some of these really pro power conditioners. So, then you're relegated to using the lesser ones, but that's a trade-off, and that's okay. Say, all right, I'm not going to have that level of protection, but I also don't have problems at my show. So check, good, right? Yep. It's not a problem until it's a problem, and generally it's not a problem. You can use those less expensive ones to solve the low level problems. And we'll kind of walk you through that. I mean, to your point about calling us, we're not going to, BS you. We're going to be pretty honest. As Norman Schwarzkopf said, by the way, it's bovine scatology. That's what BS stands for, bovine scatology. Anyway, but we're just going to give you the plain truth, right? We believe in long-term relationships. We believe in helping people and earning their long-term business and not trying to make a quick buck.
Excellent. Links for the different shows we've talked about should be in the chat. You guys can go and find those. The power conditioner one, the one we did about the wattage. And of course, if you are looking to add some things, go check out the NLFX Pro website there, and the phone numbers are there, and you can give them a shout during business hours in Central Time Zone, because that's where we are. Yay! Ben, we got to go. The guys
thank goodness. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, you guys are getting ready. So thank you for being with us tonight. And Ben, thank you for getting out and doing that. And even though you're feeling not so great tonight, but it was good information.
My first sick day in 2 years. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I could suck it up one sick day in 2 years.
Yeah, well, we made it through. So wonderful. Thank you guys for being with us. And again, DJNTV.com/chill. You can go out and check out the Tuesday Night Music Show Zoom Room and have some fun this evening. We'll catch you next week. Good night, everyone.